Hello everybody, welcome back to another brand new video. And yes, my name is Golden Devin-Foxy Remastered again. And before we do proceed to the video, by the way, then I definitely want to talk about something that I want to talk about. That another person has passed away, which, by the way, it was another legend that made the Sega games. Which, by the way, I actually definitely want to say this in comparison, by the way, that I would say is like, oh, which would I probably liked better? Did I probably like Nintendo or Sega? Well, those two things are a bit less debatable for me to actually just go ahead and just like Leslie just say it otherwise that I've always liked, you know, Nintendo over than Sega, which trust me, I've probably liked both of them anyways to begin with, which, I started liking Mario in the beginning when I was just a kid, exactly whenever I was just a teenager at this point. So that's just how I played the Wii games and then the Wii U games, the 3DS games, and yada yada yada, all that other stuff. But let me just jump to the chase and get to the point of most points of all is that I want to mention this anyway. That I did feel pretty bit bad about, however, exactly with like the person that passed away, which was like a person that probably passed away. I think the name is David Rosen. Yeah, I think it was David Rosen. Yeah, he was pretty much the pretty much the legend of Sega, which I'll admit, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, it it's pretty sad to see a person that just passed away and all, which does kind of suck, by the way, which I'll be honest with everybody else that, well, yeah, it kind of sucks, but I'll have to say again that, well, I'll admit again that some Sega games I have probably recently played before, and some other games I have not ever played. So at this very point, I just want to say is give my honor to the legend that was the CEO co-founder, and I did found out, by the way, that the Call of Duty founder, by the way, the CEO founder was just like the found CEO was just the person that exactly. So that's just what I probably would make the point. But like otherwise, again, let's just get back to the Sega point here. It's just that it does kind of suck by seeing the person pass away, which I'll be honest with most of everybody is that yeah, some Sega games are pretty okay, and some other games are pretty much less okay to play, at least. Which, still, to be honest, though, that I think, to be in all fair odds, like always, it kind of feels a bit sad deep down in my soul a little bit by seeing the person that passed away, which is just tragic, very tragic. Which I wish the person that wish the person very well and God exactly, by taking care of God by the hand of God exactly. Which like I said, in most other occasions, just don't tell me otherwise in the comments by saying it's like, oh, have you played this game, Sega? Have you played this? Have you played that and that and that? Well, again, it's going to be a bit annoying if I ever see that in the comments exactly by like literally repeating the same line as from like the comment anyway, which, yeah, at this very time and point again, I will say at some other points that, well, I've not really played pretty much the Sonic games on like recently just on my main channel. Like I'm talking about the old Sonic game back then, when it was like the first Sonic game ever started. Exactly. I think it was like Sonic the Hedgehog. I think it was like way back somewhere in the 19s. And no, I've not played like the 19s of the Mario game, which, by the way, for those who would say is like, oh, you gotta try it, you gotta try it. Well, the answer is that no, I probably am not going to try it just likely a bit yet, which the obvious answer is that, at least like I said, maybe somewhere in the future, later maybe, just maybe in the future at this some point, which I know we're not there yet, anyways. But the only thing I probably would predict what the future would probably be for me, I think it would be somewhere like 2030, 2031, or whatever exactly. It just highly depends on whatever exactly that the future would probably be that only way exactly. But like I said, I'm not going to predict too many things that could be possible or less possible to predict, anyways. Which that's not what I'm here for. I'm just saying is that, well, even though, like I said, I have to be honest that most Sega games have been pretty a bit interestingly improved so far. Which all I can say is that, yeah, I just hope that rest in peace for David Rosen, exactly. Rest in peace for David Rosen. Apparently, absolutely, and rest in peace to the person that actually did very well, interesting ways that made Sega games very improvedly interesting. Which, even though I did wanted to say, is that hopefully the Sega and Nintendo games continue exactly at least at some points, but if I'm gonna criticize something, then yeah, I might criticize it something at some point by saying it's like, oh, which game sucks there and there and that and that. It's just different conclusions on different sides to know which one is bad. Which, not most games are bad, but some games are a bit good. You just may never know how the experience plays along and works and yada yada and stuff. So, like I said, everyone has preferences and everyone just has like boundaries on any other games that they just like. That's all I'm saying. Just to be very honest and fair, like always, like for everyone else. So that's just the point I can say as of now. So, like that being said, rest in peace for David Rosen. Rest in peace for the guy. Rest in peace for the legend that made of the Sonic games. That was the CEO founder or co-founder. I think it was a co-founder that actually did a bit of like making Sega games at least, or like arcades of Sega games, which I think that's just the most points of all points anyway, and just proven of some interesting points just for me to say that. So, like that being said, I hope to rest in peace for the guy, and I'll say is that, man, this man has done a great, amazing, better job, which there's gonna be some ups and downs, so don't expect that there might be some ups and downs and yada yada. So don't expect any of that might come around it. So that's all I'm saying, and otherwise. So as that being said, I just hope that David Rosen lives a good life in heaven and just has lived a great time and always and time and time. I'm just referring to like the Sega's um, found co-founder or something. Yeah, I meant saying Sega's co-founder. Yeah, that's what I meant to say at that point. So that's obviously what I meant to say. So rest in peace for the guy. As like a massive Sonic fan, or a bit of some points of being a massive fan, as I just like exactly on most other certainties that I probably would say at this point. As a Sonic fan myself, apparently, which even though I probably started playing Sonic the second. I just played like Sega second and Nintendo first. Even though I'm on both spectrums anyway, on both liking on certain sides exactly. That I just like because it just really gives me a bit of like some motivation and just a bit of like inspiration to just enjoy the games while still being enjoy them. Even if some games on the Wii U, Switch, or just apparently on the Nintendo Switches anyway. But like all fairnesses and all odds, exactly that I actually do say at some points that some games are a bit interesting and some games are always interesting forever in everyone's hearts exactly, and all retrospectively fair. So anyways, that's all I want to talk about. That's all I wanted to say. And for those who actually kind of feel bad for the person passing away, well, I don't blame you, and I don't blame anyone at this point. I'm just here to be nice and just have a bit of a conversation talk as we go and go, just talk about like Sega game from Sega game and from many other numbers, from any dates exactly, from any Sega games that are related, or pretty much it's somewhere at least. So, as that being said, I will say again is that yeah, at this point, I think most likely that we all respect most other interesting people, even though some other characters are interesting and games and like yada 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 and all other stuff. So that's all I want to talk about. But anyways, as that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. And for me, I did feel bad for the person passing away. I just couldn't believe I just found it on a YouTube short that I watched exactly, which I think it was an interesting creator talking about the person recently passed away at some point. I think it was Slime Ninja. Yeah, I think I watched Slime Ninja's content, just watching it on the YouTube short. That I did figure out that I was like, wait, seriously? Sega's co-founder passed away? I'm like, no way. Like, that's insane. Which, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and just check it out in a little bit and see who the person is. Let me go ahead and use the microphone. Who is David Rosen? All right. Co-founder. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and find the word it says. Co-founder of Sega. Hold on, I almost got it. Here we go. Here we go. Found it. Yeah, there he is, folks. David Rosen. Yeah, that's his name. David Rosen. All right. So this says something right here, exactly right here anyway. So I'll try to be able to read most likely the overview as I can, and highly expect to read most of it. And I'm like, holy damn, the dude lived so long. Like, a lot longer than I expected. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, that's just crazy. Like I said, it's pretty insane. Which, like I said, I have to say that, some characters and some, most likely by saying is like, well, it's a bit interesting just to find out a little bit by seeing is like, 19s or 2000s. Well, like I said, I don't blame each other side anyway. But sometimes, am I going to criticize something from a bit of like 19s or maybe 2000s? Well, that highly is in the middle, and that highly depends for whatever the reason that is. So let's go ahead and read the overview for what it says. So in this overview, it says David Rosen, January 22nd, 1930, which I'm like, wow, 1930. That's a long, long time. Holy damn. And of December 2000, damn it, December 25th, 2025. And it says, was an American businessman. Okay, I actually will respect that for a bit, just a bit of respect, a bit respect from that. And U.S. Air Force veteran who CEO founded Sega by merging his company Rosen Empire Enterprises with oh damn, that's a bit of another word I never heard. NIHON. And sorry if I might get the wrong name a little bit to incorrect it, but I'm going to go ahead and just guess it. Yeah, sorry, it's a little bit of a long word to read it. Just a bit of a long word, which I never heard of, by the way. Never heard of. Bussin. Yeah, I think that would be it. In 1965, he served as CEO, pioneering the Japanese arcade industry before overseeing Sega's expansion into home consoles like the Genesis. Yeah, Genesis. No, absolute Genesis. And it says from right here, early career after serving in the Korean War, Rosen stayed in Japan and founded Rosen Enterprises in 1954, originally importing photo booths. Founding Sega in 1957, he began importing coin-operated amusement machines in 1965. He merged his company with Service Games to form Sega Enterprises Ltd. Industry impact. He is credited with bringing widespread arcade gaming into Japan, and later led Sega of America during the 19s and the 1980s and the 1990s, playing a critical role in the success of the Sega Master System and Mega Drive slash Genesis. Oh, and it says from passing right here. So the passing says right here, it says Rosen passed away on December 25th, 2025 in Los Angeles at the age of 95. Yeah, I can see. Well, like I said, you will be missed, brother. You will be missed, man. Absolutely missed. And totally, absolutely missed. And I'll be honest here, is like, I hope the guy did a great job, which I think he did a very wonderful bit of a job, which I mean, are there going to be ups and downs a little bit? Sure, a little bit of something like that. And also, what's a little bit interesting here, by the way, like, I find it a little interesting here by saying, like, the two words that were mentioned a little bit by saying is Sega of America and then Nintendo of America. Like, I find two words so interesting to me a little bit that it actually rhymes a little less, but it doesn't kind of rhyme a little bit when it's just at the side, you know. Like saying is like Nintendo of America and Sega of America, which I again respect a little bit. I respect just a little respect I would give that it's a bit interesting, just a bit interesting. So that's just why I wanted to keep my words a little bit positive, a little bit, and just keep it a little bit at the medium as always. So I just want to say that for those, like I want to probably most likely want to say is thank you David Rosen so much for making the Sega games. I mean, without him, by the way, he probably would have done something different, you know. And I mean, it's pretty interesting that it was kind of mentioned like an early career. He mentioned a little bit from after when he was like, oh, he was serving in the Korean War or something. Which I'm like, damn, really? Like Korean War? Okay, well, I never expected that, but okay, okay. I'm just kind of learning as this goes a little bit about the key facts, a little bit about David Rosen, which finally, just like to say is like, fair enough on the key facts, though. Fair enough on that. Just absolutely fair enough on the key facts. So, hey, I guess I'll say fair enough. So, anyways, if you guys like David Rosen, by the way, then I hope that you guys enjoyed a bit of like, I don't know, a bit of his life going on and on about like making Sega arcade games and machines that like, you know, that relates to Sega exactly. So in most retrospect, that I hope to say is like, if anybody likes David Rosen, by the way, go ahead and like and comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified like every time. So hope that everybody, well, you know, that I'll say in most fair respect that I hope that he had a great, amazing time in his life in a very absolutely great way that he made awesome made amount of Sega games, which it's pretty damn interesting. It's very absolutely interesting, and I love it. You know, very good, honestly, exactly, which is pretty damn cool, to be honest, which is damn pretty cool. So, yeah, damn pretty interesting, bruh. Very damn interesting. And plus, his legacy probably still yet be lived on exactly of making the amount of the most best Sega games in the longest time of 1980s and the 1990s, which all respect, very respect, always. Absolute the respect. So, as that being said, I hope that you guys enjoy, well, this video basically, which, like I said, there could be some ups and downs about David Rosen as, you know, as everyone is fair and respectively, which at most points, well, I'll say is this, that I hope that God takes care of the guy exactly and lived a very good life exactly ahead of him, which even though that it was coming to his time at somewhere at the 95, at the age of 95, which I was like, damn, that's like the longest of the longest age I have expected. I'm like, wow. Which sometimes it may come to surprise me a little bit, but not almost surprising, but it may surprise me a little bit by seeing like how long like the dates are exactly, which, you know, not in a mean spirited way exactly. I'm just saying in a curious way that I just didn't knew that. That's just what I'm talking about. So for anybody out there who plays the Sega arcades, game machines, well, just let me know in the comments by saying like, that have you played it or have you not played it? Well, it's totally natural in every other way opinion. Exactly, it's totally natural and pretty fine, anyways. For those who probably played the Sega arcade games and the Nintendo game arcades, well, just like I said again, go ahead and just give me a comment for those who want to like tell me about that. I'm totally free to be open for that, so that would be okay. So, anyways, as that being said, I hope to say otherwise that yeah. So, David Rosen, you will be missed, man. You'll be missed out there, man. You totally would absolutely be missed. You'll be missed out there, and yeah, I hope you will be missed. Anyway, that's just a bit of the sad news I was wanting to talk about. And for those who definitely felt sad about this, then, I'm here for anybody, exactly for those who just want to have comfort a little bit or just to feel a bit sad at least. Because, I mean, at this point, like, seriously, do not laugh at anybody's death because it's not even funny, because it really isn't. I mean, like I said, it really isn't funny. So for those, again, who probably would take it seriously, then yes, be serious and don't laugh because it's not even a funny joke. It really isn't that funny. So, yeah, like I said, at this point again, I'll say this one more last time anyway, that at the end of the day, everybody has preferences, everybody has boundaries by other reasons of opinions. That's it. Even hell, I probably would take the opinion anyway and say the point anyways, but at the time of the day, I'll say this, that as for right now, is that, well, if I do see a Sega game arcade, exactly a game machine arcade, then hell, I'll give it a try a little bit and play it. Which, even though I did play the Sonic game from 1, 2, and 3, which, I just go through numbers and numbers, which I definitely did got good on most of them. That's all I'm saying. But no, I have not played it recently on my main channel, of course, which I not even got to that exactly, which I know it's just gonna be like a long gaming progress for me to like entirely just finish and wrap up exactly. Which, even though it may still be considered a pause exactly or whatever it will be, like I said, it's up to my decision. Even if it comes down to that decision of mine, that I'll make that choice, then yes. Again, I'll say this otherwise, that I'll like figure a way that will probably be exampled. So that's all I'm saying. But again, in most answers, I'll like pause exactly, or just in fact like still resume the entire gaming progress, or just pause it anyways. For what I have left as far as enough, which that's all I gotta say. But anyways, as of now, I just want to say is that, well, even if anybody is a Sega fan, a Nintendo fan, or any kind of fan out there that, wants to kind of like feel a bit of some, like, feeling some need and wanting to talk about David Rosen, then feel free and be my guest. Just for those, just to be respectful and kindly respectful to David Rosen, because I mean, hell, he was literally in the early career before he even got into be the co-founder. Like, he was literally in a Korean War. That's all I'm saying. And he stayed in Japan until he went all the way to Los Angeles. And before that, he was at the age of somewhere 95. So that's all I'm saying. So, as that being said, I want to make the point and just make an honest point here exactly that, well, rest in peace for David Rosen. Rest in peace for him. And I'll have to say again is that, well, hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And remember these 4 things to do, as otherwise is like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified, so that way that you guys will not miss a single video that comes on this channel. And that's all I want to probably say. But anyway, as of now, I want to say is thank you, David Rosen, for making the best way possible all the way back in the 1980s or 1980s and 90s. I really want to appreciate the David Rosen for making absolute incredible things that he's ever probably made since in the Sega era that made a bit of impressive ways around it. Which, like I said, I have nothing against Nintendo or Sega at each other point anyway. I'm only just making a point from different point beyond conversations. That's all I'm saying. At some points I may like disapprove or approve of different ways of different sides. That's just what I'm saying. Which sometimes I'll have to say I'll take things a bit lightly and a bit things non-lightly at some point. That depends on my mood, if I just don't feel a bit pissed or whatever. But at the end of the day, I just want to feel likely, just wanting to be the only person in the room and just kind of talk about this and, just kind of feel how bad I felt a little bit of seeing the co-founder of Sega passed away, which I will say in fair debt that I want to say is like, I hope that God takes care of him, and I hope to say that he lives a good life up there and a very amount of good times up there, and just meet all the legend actors up there or anybody at this point. But anyway, that's all I want to talk about. That's all I wanted to say and just get off my chest and just say is like, how bad do I feel about the guy passed away? Well, in all fair respect, I kind of feel bad for him for passing away, even if he was somewhere in an old age, which I know it was just kind of be about his time to pass away, which, at some points, again, I don't blame anybody, which, like I said, I'm not trying to be here to be mean. I'm just trying to say is like, how interesting the legends were exactly, how cool, and legends of a legendary of many things that I probably would say at this point. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off right now, and of course, I'll just go ahead and sign off as of now. So, remember to give this video a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. That way, you guys will not miss a single video that comes on this channel. So, as without further ado, and that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off and just sign out. So thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing day and have a good time. And I will see you guys next time. And yeah, so remember to be positive and remember to be nice. Just for those who are a Sega fan, by the way, for those who are a Sonic fan and a Sega fan, well, just go ahead and say the word and just, how bad how bad it feels a little bit by seeing the legend pass away, about the co-founder exactly. Which, even though, like I said, there could be some ups or downs or whatever, but like I said, remember to always be positive and respectful to the person who absolutely made the Sega machine games. I mean, without him, like, where would he even be, and where would he be, and where he would have been off exactly? That's the one important question. Like, if he didn't make the games, like, where would Sega even be right now without the guy? That's just what I'm talking about. That's all. Anyway, just to be honest and just to be truthful as always, and respectful as always. So, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm about to go ahead and sign off right now. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Time to sign off and sign right out. So thank you. Bye-bye. Take care and sign off.